But as I mentioned during this game, Maciej Weiser, black also has other possibilities, which is not so surprising, of course, because otherwise chess would be a very easy game if you could just go knight h3, knight f4, knight h5 and mate. The other ways are not so numerous actually, so the only other move which was played reasonably successfully is rook f5. Or maybe there are also transpositions, that is, maybe you can go bishop d7 here and h4, rook f5. But one way or the other you come to this position, and it is interesting to note how differently this position can be treated. And this position is of quite some value for the entire line. White can go immediate h5. The drawback of this move being that after g takes h5, rook h5, rook h5, queen h5, we exchanged a pair of rooks. And it is important to note that not only in this line, but in general, the more pieces we exchange, the less of attacking chances we have. So white should actually be interested in keeping the rooks, and black should be interested in exchanging the rooks. That is why, for instance, in this position, the popular move rook f8 I consider not very accurate, because after this white has the chance to keep the rooks with rook h3. So returning to the position before h5, white can try to prevent this rook's exchange with knight g5 first, as we saw in the game Maciej Weiser. This is a pretty normal idea as well, trying to go h5 and being ready to relocate the knight with knight h3, knight f4. But in this position, black is also not without resources. I recently had this position in my game against young and undoubtedly very talented Italian player Fabiano Caruana, and he played rook af8, and here I noticed that the move h5, the move I was undoubtedly planning, the move which looks very, very dangerous, opening the h file, threatening knight h7, threatening h takes g6 and all, is not at all so clear because of queen a5. And suddenly black starts very serious counterplay. Queen c3 is a very serious threat. After the moves like king d2, protecting c3, rook f2 suddenly becomes a very serious possibility. Takes, followed by queen c3 with a very serious attack. And now suddenly you see that it is not white who is attacking, but black. Transpositions like this should always be checked very, very carefully. So after queen a5, it looks like bishop d2 is the move, but then black goes h6, threatening, and this is important, rook takes g5, because if hg5 were a threat, I would go h takes g6, and after hg5 would be happy to execute the well-known mate with rook h8 and queen h5, queen h7. But in fact, like this, hg6 will be losing to rook g5, bishop g5, and queen c3. And basically, the rook is hanging, and after king e2, knight d4 is just too horrible to look at from white's point of view. So all this is pretty ugly, and it is interesting to see that there is a third way to deal with this position, and I found out that Anand, some years ago, playing against Alejandro Ramirez, played in this position a funny looking queen h3. The idea is that first of all, white liberates the pawn, the g pawn, to go to g4 and attack the rook on f5, and there are also other motives. One of them being that white builds a certain power along the h-file, making thus the moves like h5 more dangerous, and white is also eyeing the pawn on c3, in some lines protecting it. The continuation of the game was even more interesting. Black went rook a f8, and sometimes threatening rook takes f3 with a positional compensation for the exchange, because white's pawn structure would be pretty broken after g takes f3. And here Anand went knight g1. Something like this you rarely see, and it is only in very closed positions like this that you can allow yourself such a loss of time regrouping your pieces. In fact, after knight g1, it becomes clear that suddenly all black's ideas become pointless, because he was bringing his rooks to f5 and f8, certainly hoping to exert some pressure along the f-file, and he was building up the structure, trying to play queen a5 and to annoy white's king and white's pawn. And now, just after one move, the knight disappears from its weak spot on f3 and is transferred to e2. And after this, as we mentioned, the rooks have nothing to do on the f-file, and the queen becomes pretty pointless on a5. And to boot, with the knight on e2, the pawn on d4 gets yet another supporter. And it seems that after this, black simply has no more play, and white's plan would include knight e2, king d2, and maybe rook f1, and slow preparation of the attack. And this, at least now, seems to be a very serious weapon against black setup, and I would like to recommend it to a white player. Unfortunately, I myself, and playing against Caruana, I didn't know about this possibility yet, so I went for the inferior knight g5, and basically failed to win a game which would have been of a quite serious importance. So after this, pretty detailed theoretical consideration, we should probably proceed with some more practical examples.